Well, I'd just like to say that people say that the definition of madness is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results, and I feel like that every year with UE3. Like, it's always more disappointing each year, but we keep coming back and going, oh, but it'll be better than last year, right?
Sure it will.
Yeah, we talked about how bad last year was, but this year... Ugh.
All crappy tech demos and no games makes CCS
a dull boy. But, you know what? Despite the insanity of redoing everything over and over again, there was actually a few noticeable improvements.
Yes, there were a few. I think it's best...
Should we start with Microsoft because it's the most obvious?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Let's start with the one that was the clearest improvement, which was also the very first conference, which was Microsoft.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that I was actually pleasantly surprised by Microsoft this year because, albeit I will stress that they basically had no choice but to rethink their strategy after they got their asses handed to them last year by Sony. Hey, it's a fact. What you're gonna do?
Absolutely.
I was still pleasantly surprised that they were more or less humble this year. Because, the conference started, the guy came out and he started talking about, hey, it's all about you guys, we're trying to create the best gaming platform for you gamers, etc. Which was a bit hokey, but like I told Matt before, compared to Adam Orth, this is a noticeable improvement.
A complete 180 from we want to work together, we're all in this together, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, all of us, to do that after, fucking hashtag deal with it.
Yeah, last year, go fuck yourself, we don't need you. This year, come on guys, we're all one big gaming family, right?
There was so much dick sucking in that room.
But when I was watching it, and I'm not saying this to detract from the Microsoft conference, but I did find it quite funny that they were like, it's all about the games, and who knows, today you might meet some old favorites. I'm sitting there going, come on, do it, motherfucker, bring out Banjo, and then he goes, and now just to prove that, here's Call of Duty, and we just go because it's like, but it's just as well they got that out of the way because everything after that was actually pretty solid.
Yeah, well,
yeah, it's surprising he was, but there were a couple of hiccups.
Oh yeah, yep.
Wow, do I even go into stuff like Battlefield / Call of Duty / whatever the fuck it's called? It's all
oh
the same.
yeah. Well, my friend Andy was watching it, and he's got a heavy northern accent. He's going, "Why are they calling it Battlefield? Why don't they just call it something else? Fuck's sake!" And it's, he's right. It felt like it could have been a Bad Boys style game, but what they'd done was they'd slapped Battlefield on it because obviously they want to shift copies. But of course,
because it's a recognizable IP.
Yeah, but of course you've got the IGN. You can't spell ignorant without IGN. You've got their panel afterwards, talking about how, I don't care what the gamers say. I think it's a nice change of pace. And it's like, well, why don't they just change the name? I know why you don't think they should change the name, because you're getting that fat paycheck every week. So
yeah,
it's
because 2 months from now we're gonna see Battlefield ads all over their site.
Yeah, exactly. And it's gonna be everywhere. And
hashtag truth in journalism.
What do you mean? Like the guy from IGN is just gonna grow a symbiote and harness their souls? Oops, spoilers. But I felt like from that point onwards, they at least had exclusives, and I was actually interested in the Halo collection. I mean, Halo, the first three are not really bad. They kind of gained a reputation because of what they created, but they're actually quite competently made. And I thought it was interesting that they decided to put together a HD re-release, for the fifth anniversary for the fifth game's release.
Yeah, makes sense.
Everyone else is doing it. Why not?
Yeah. There's a cash grab angle to it, though. But I mean, obviously, they are still kind of like just appealing to the fans, saying, well, if you aren't old enough to have played the first Halo on the original Xbox, here's your chance to go back and relive the Master Chief Saga.
Here's a crazy thing, though. When they were showing the trailer for Halo 5, for a second there, I swear I thought that this was actually going to be like a crossover between Halo and Dead Space, because like the new guy they showed,
You wish.
He has a helmet that looks exactly like the Dead Space guy, and they even referred to the guy as Agent Clark. I was like, wait, Isaac Clarke? Like, Dead Space?
I tell you this, not because I trust you, Agent Clark.
Maxie, I was gonna say it's a telltale sign of desperation when you start adding fucking zombies to your space. No.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
I better not say it because the original Dead Space was good, but...
Well, they already did that to the previous Halo with the spooky, scary skeletons, you know, coming out of there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. At this point, I wouldn't put it neither past Dead Space or Halo because, you know, it's two both popular franchises and, you know, superhero team-ups are all the rave these days, so...
Crossover!
Yeah.
The one game that actually kind of surprised me is actually, honestly, Call of Duty, the new one.
Really?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't understand why, because I still miss games like the original Doom where you explore an area and you don't get handheld down a fucking corridor between one cutscene and another. Because, I mean, like, at the very end, the guy's like, you know, go on without me, I'll be alright, you know, like the fucking Indiana Jones 4.
It's okay. I'll see you on the other side.
And, you know, it's like, oh, wow, my best friend that I've known for 2 minutes is dead. Oh, no, what am I gonna do?
Hashtag tragedy.
But it's... The weaponry looked alright. I love Kevin Spacey, but it's still suffering from the same fucking problems that you literally go from one corridor through another, shooting up a couple of enemies, and it just cutscene after cutscene. I still see that just being a problem this entire E3 with the first-person shooters.
But did you find any solace in Sunset Overdrive, which a lot of people have been very positive about? This is why I love hanging around with cynics.
I love the fact that they did a complete parody on the first-person shooter at the very opening.
Yes.
That was good.
I laughed my ass off. I'm like, oh, fuck, another terrorist shooting game. And all of a sudden, here comes some skateboard punk. But then it started veering off into kind of like the overly annoying angle.
Quirky.
Yeah. I do like the gameplay. I admit that. It's very arcade. It's very...
I do want to mention, though, it's because they showed the guy playing it live, and then sort of after the conference, when they had a little post-talk, they showed the same gameplay footage, and that made me think, hang on, either you recorded that then and there, or this is just a trailer you put together, and you've insulted us by making us think that this guy is actually playing the game. Bollocks,
Oh, you mean the same thing they do every single conference?
Well, the funny thing was, they didn't do it on some of the previous conferences, as we saw with all the technical difficulties. So I felt like, well, if this is the case, if you're not even going to, you know, actually have them play the games and have the pretense of it, just drop the pretense. Just show us the
trailers.
game. Yeah, exactly. Just show us the trailer. Just show us the gameplay. You know, don't insult us by pretending to have a guy come up stage and press a few buttons on a controller. You know, make it look like he's playing.
And just to clarify, so that people don't accuse me of being a sourpuss, like LaughingMan, I was excited when it was revealed that they did a bait and switch, and that the whole, you know, brown and gray typical military FPS thing was just it was just a setup for a joke. But here's the problem: the game looks fine, and it does seem to be more arcadey than most shooters these days. But here's the thing: with the kind of setting and the design they're going with, and with the kind of over-the-top zany gameplay they want to implement in this game, let the players make their own fun. Don't be like, hey, I'm awesome and whatnot, and you can do this, and look at me, boy, you know, like...
Can you? For the love of God, can you? Of course you can.
Yeah, the whole cutscene didn't kind of rub me the wrong way.
It's like if this is gonna be a soapbox, like something like the Saints Row games, right? And if you're gonna give us all these crazy weapons, just give us the toys and we'll make our own fun. There's no need to try and make it hip and fun and woo.
I felt the same thing with Project Spark, because basically Project Spark looked interesting. They give you it's the same thing you were talking about. They get the idea that you can make your own world and you can play with all of these tools that they've given you. Oh, and we've also now thrown Conker into the mix, who sounds increasingly confused about why he's there. Guess I better make another game now.
Almost 10 years without a new game. Guess we'll have to make our own.
Project Spark being kind of cool aside is very Little Big Planet. All of a sudden, Conker walks out on screen. I'm like, thinking, yes, there's gonna be a new Conker game. Fuck yes! And all of a sudden, he's like, only in Project Spark. And it's like, fuck you!
Yeah, I think Conker summed it up best in his original game. Pow, nobody wants to have to deal with that. And I don't even know what tone they're going for, because it's very clear that Project Spark is sort of aimed at adolescents and younger gamers, but
yeah, it's very squeaky clean.
Meanwhile, Conker was MA-17. Yeah,
and it's like, imagine some kids are like, oh, let's go wander around to Xbox Classics. What's this? Oh, Conker's Bad Fur Day, or Live and Reloaded. Let's give it a go.
Let's play this. Yeah.
And there's a giant shit monster there.
And there's a big drunken bee trying to pollinate a flower with big tits.
Oh god, yeah.
God, that was a brilliant game.
It feels like every exclusive they announced was interesting, but it was also a double-edged sword. And I don't know if you guys also felt that with the Fable relaunch that they were talking about.
Yeah. I couldn't really watch too much of the Fable one because during the Dance Central one that came before that, I was actually taking a shit because I didn't give a shit about Dance Central. And I came back and saw Fable. I'm like, oh, I can go back and wash my hands and flush the toilet now.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did notice is very God of War Ascension. Ever since that game came out, all of a sudden there's like a massive like upcropping of 4-player co-op games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my friends was just kind of annoyed at the whole class thing, because he's like, oh, they're trying to be different, but why the hell have they given the big guy the crossbow? You know, it's like... surely he would have the melee weapon, but no, they've given it to someone else. And of course they've got a woman leading it, because, you know, they're trying to show progression. And
that's another thing. As I was watching the Microsoft conference, one thing I noted was that there was a lot more focus on female characters this year,
which is not a bad thing,
right? Yeah. It's not a bad thing at all. I don't knock it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with it per se, but when they showed you the Dragon's Age trailer, and that trailer featured almost exclusively female characters, which is fine because half of the roster of the characters are female, so you know, nothing wrong with that. Then they show you Fable, and again, half of the roster are females, which is, again, nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that all the characters in Fable were just obnoxious twats as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, all of them.
Well, don't hang about polishing your codgkins. We've got questing to do.
We get in, we get out, swift and smooth. Family motto and lifestyle choice, old chap. Shut up, Sterling.
I think I chose the wrong underwear for this one.
Yeah, so again, there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe social justice warriors can even view this as a victory of some sorts. Yeah, we showed them. No, at the end of the day, it's the almighty dollar that does it.
Misogyny cured.
And of course, let us not forget that also during this very same conference, and speaking about women, we actually saw the return of Lara Croft.
Yeah, which was interesting. I sent LaughingMan an image that the people on 4chan had already grabbed a hold of the images of the psychiatrist and turned him into Bane when he's talking about what broke it's
Yes, because it's the rise of the Tomb Raider.
Exactly. Didn't take them long. Oh dear.
Now's not the time for fear, Lara. That comes later.
It was interesting to see that they're finally getting into the part where she becomes a badass. To be honest, I am kind of sick of realistic Lara. I don't like the idea that realistic means that she's a complete victim. You know,
she has to kill a deer.
You know, and everyone's like, well, you got to look at her situation, and I'm like, yeah, and she just seems, I don't know, it's almost too marketable. You know, like, oh look, it's a fully relatable character. So it's like they're doing the cinematic thing again. It wants to be a movie rather than a game. Mm-hmm. You know.
Right. It's Lara Croft, but now she has smaller tits.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's like you can relate to Lara and, you know, play, and you can watch her progression, and it's like I kind of would rather do something, you know, where you play through it. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, one thing I had a big beef with on the entire Microsoft conference was why were they intersplicing all of these videos of like developers and even like
forgot about that.
Two assholes from Saturday Night, two quote talents from Saturday Night Live. Talking about why they like games. Like the Saturday Night Live guys are talking about what's your ideal game, and the guy's like, oh, it'd be awesome if, you know, there was like a game that had like Batman and Ninja Turtles together. And I'm thinking, okay, so they're gonna show us an Arkham City kind of.
Sorry, I was gonna say, we said when that happened that it was like, if we say these two popular franchises enough, then maybe it'll be funny to someone, you know.
Yeah, well, I was expecting them to actually like lead up to something, you know, like, okay, you know, I really like to see a Batman / Ninja Turtle game, and I'm like, okay, so are they actually gonna make it? It's gonna be like the Lego Movie or something like that,
or is it gonna be a TMNT Arkham City style game?
That's what I was thinking. Maybe like a Ninja Turtle Arkham Asylum type of game. No trailers. They were talking about they're talking with other developers, and they're like, oh, I like, you know, Galaga and Defender and all these old classic arcade games. I'm like, okay, are they giving those a facelift and bringing them back? No relevance whatsoever.
No, it was just an excuse for two hacks to say, you know, two franchises and get some, you know, get people's ears to
get
prick
them
up.
Google SEO points.
Yeah.
Name drop.
Basically, they were trying to accomplish two things here. Number one, pet out the conference a bit, and number two, showcase that gaming is ubiquitous. We're all this one giant gaming family, and we have favorite games. Family. Family's important. Games.
Wow, they just went total Nintendo, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Microsoft conference was that it was very padded, but it was also, I guess, if I was to at least try to be objective about the situation, like if I'm sitting there as an investor who seriously wants to become part of the Microsoft, money machine as they might think it is, then yeah, I guess as a conference, it did what it needed to. It was slick, it showed a lot of content, a lot of exclusives right off the bat, like, Scalebound and Sunset Overdrive and stuff like that. And it was over reasonably quickly. It wasn't too long. And
even better, there were no cars. Fucking cars on stage this year, thank God.
But it was a real shame that was the top, because what I thought was, well, this conference is really slick, but I'm not really a Microsoft fan, so if all the other conferences are like this should be a really good E3. And of course, that wasn't the case.
No, not at all.
Oh, and just like the year before, almost every single conference that was not EA or Nintendo, well, basically 3 conferences out of the 5, had Assassin's Creed footage.
Yes, Ubisoft were particularly obnoxious.
That drove me up the fucking wall.
Those 3 timing whores.
I mean, they did it with Watch Dogs last year. I was going back through our commentary.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and I was noting how many times we were saying, oh, look, it's Watch Dogs again. We don't care anymore.
Yeah.
They did the exact same thing with Assassin's Creed Frenchy edition, And
then Pirate Edition the previous year, so...
Yeah. And it's the fact that they've camped it up to more than ever before. You've got full-on aristocrats looking like the Marquis de Sange from Monkey Island.
I thought you said Marquis de Sade. I'm like, wow.
No, the Marquis de Sange in Monkey Island is himself a parody of the Marquis de Sade. So, it's like...
All right.
Yeah, just it's that times by 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hashtag Occupy France.
I mean, I was sitting there humming the fucking song for Les Miserables. Do you hear the people sing?
Do you hear
I'm
the
like,
people
Jesus
sing?
Christ.
Get away from this damn thing. Yeah.
Well, that fell flat. On to EA.
EA. Sports now with added flaming battleships. I don't know if you guys saw that in the golfing trailer.
Yeah.
But it felt like they did that purely to wake us up for nothing else.
I mean, well, the thing about EA is that EA does have that, the entire EA Sports subdivision, so they have to talk about EA Sports because whether we want it or not, these sports games are popular. People do buy them. Although actually...
It's only 95% of EA's revenue is EA Sports.
Yeah, although I do actually wonder if people who actually buy those games are the same people who watch E3 religiously every year.
Explain. I will not enact that labor.
Yeah, I wonder if the EA thing is that, they've got to pitch it to sports networks and sports companies who obviously sign in to put their names in the game, and they're doing this as a way to I don't know, cover their backs. I don't obviously know the industry inside out, but it sounds very likely that this is sort of a way to tide over football magazines, gaming magazines, because the sports stuff is always printed in that. People forget it's not just gamers who sit down in E3 conferences. A lot of the time it's gaming journalists. In fact, you can't even get into the conference, I think, unless you're part of a blog or a magazine. So, it's everyone's writing down so that they can put it up in their magazines.
Here's a quick question. Does EA have a monopoly on several sports? Because I noticed there's not like a football game besides Madden, is there?
No,
like
I
American
don't think
football.
so, no.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the market doesn't need it because EA's already filling that need. There's no vacuum for it.
Possibly, but I just remember back in like the N64 days where you had like Quarterback Club and Madden going head to head.
Yeah.
And I think I remember Madden like buying the rights to the NFL, like exclusive rights. So if you're going to be playing a Quarterback Club football game nowadays, it's going to be like San Francisco Sharks or something like that, or just the name of the city. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once you've gotten a hold of that kind of talent, shall we say, then you pretty much ousted all of the other competition.
Yeah, which is sad because I really don't like monopolies.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that game, am I right?
Fuck that game. Give me money.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I guess somebody is buying that game. I was saying when I was watching
Yes,
it...
there is a market for those games,
yeah,
of course.
And I was saying when I was watching it, I really would like to meet all these people who are buying this. I don't know who they are, but, you know, they're obviously out there. And I'm not going to belittle them properly for that. I'm just genuinely surprised.
No,
you know.
obviously.
Yeah, and I think they...
And then the only reason why we're spending all our time discussing sports games is because that was pretty much 80% of EA's conference.
Yeah, I mean, they had The Sims as well, and you know, that was typical.
Did you guys notice that when The Sims was announced, all of a sudden there's like a lot of women cheering?
I'm Rachel Franklin, and I'm excited to introduce you to the next generation of The Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really weird because a woman shows up and she starts talking about this, and there's this really weird, like, exclusively female cheer, but it didn't even sound like natural. It sounded like it almost like it came from the speakers
Recorded.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm worried about, because in that book by Nick E., he actually does kind of go into a little bit of detail about the fact that women are kind of sick of only having The Sims to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like, well, I don't know how to phrase this, so maybe I'll skip it.
I think I know what you're trying to say. It's kind of it's very telling that they got a woman up on stage to talk about it, and you know, they're trying to heavily gear it towards a certain gender and stuff like that.
Yeah, and how she was breathlessly enthusiastic about the characters, and hey, here's Chad, and Chad did this, and oh no, here comes
that trailer did not need to be as long as it was. All you need to say is, it's The Sims again. You bought the last one, buy this one.
Well, that's weird. That's the weirdest thing about The Sims, though, is I have actually known lots of women who aren't gamers, but they play The Sims. And I'm not trying to sound sexist. I'm just saying that
there's nothing wrong with that, though.
There's
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's something about The Sims that women just seem to kind of gravitate to. I think it's like because you're kind of like in a virtual social environment, kind of.
It's because you're in control of everything.
Yeah,
brilliant. We're keeping that.
But it's weird. He's got a point. Like, I knew a lot of people when I was a kid, you know, and computers were the big thing, you know, if you were a teenager. Most of the teenage girls had Sims, you know, and they were all Roller Coaster Tycoon either. I don't know. It's sort of a joy that they found in organizing these worlds, which I sort of got into. I played some of the theme park games back in the day. But it's just kind of weird. I feel like the novelty is slightly worn off because the gaming market has broadened, you know. You're more likely to find men and women who have played Angry Birds than you are, say, just women who've played Angry Birds.
Yeah.
I don't know that The Sims fills the need that it may have all those years ago. Depends on what people think.
Well, I think that the fact that if there's a game series or a type of game that women enjoy playing, I mean, women can love playing Diablo 3. I don't care what they like playing, as long as they like playing it. That's their prerogative. But there is like almost like a bit of a gender division where guys obviously like, you know, high testosterone games, like, you know, first person shooters, that kind of thing, whereas women really do like the simulation that you find in The Sims, SimCity, that kind of thing. At least that's my own observation. Also, Nikki kind of touched up on that in his book, that there's some stats that kind of parallel that oddity. So, because it's just interesting. And if they can make more games like The Sims that people, regardless man or woman, want to buy, more power to them. But it just struck me as weird that there's all of a sudden they announced The Sims, and all of a sudden there's like this women cheering in the audience, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Something
that was
happened.
really weird. That there were women going woo, and I wonder if A, they were plants, or B, it was the cases in last year where they've added in the extra sounds to make it sound like more women are cheering.
Or it was a part of the trailer or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they did not sound authentic at all.
No, it really didn't. It was kind of awkward.
There was barely any cheering, and all of a sudden, like, whoa, yeah!
And the same kind of awkwardness was in the Ubisoft conference, which we'll go into in a bit. But yeah, it's very odd that happened.
Yeah.
Oh boy, hashtag girl world.
Yeah, well, it was the bit in the Ubisoft conference when the dancing happened, and you got people dancing in the audience, and just all these really sweaty, awkward journalists looking around, going, "How do we deal?" You know.
You grab the chair, you bash them over the head.
It's the zombie apocalypse.
They're like, what is this? Is this some kind of sneak attack?
It's just like that Dead Island 2 trailer. The zombie apocalypse.
Oh god, yeah.
Everything's in sync.
No, really, it's Sunset Overdrive. It's not Sunset Overdrive. We're not trying to cash in at all. No, it's it was very interesting that Ubisoft was actually the downer of this year, as far as like even worse than EA, which was very surprising.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The thing about the Ubisoft conference is, and this is complete schadenfreude, I completely admit this, because when I saw that Aisha took the stage, I was like, yes, just open your mouth and say stupid things, please, I beg you.
I mainly play shooters, and I have no idea what was just happening in the game.
The gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, she was very off her game this year, like even by her own shitty standards.
She was self-deprecatory, which I appreciate.
It wasn't even that. It was more the fact that she was tripping over all of her gags and having to create new gags, and it was
cursing up a storm.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of cursing in that fucking.
There was a lot of fucking cursing in that fucking trailer. Shit. Sorry.
Well, here's the thing. The conference actually started out strong with the Far Cry 4 trailer, because now that I've seen it, I'm actually kind of interested in Far Cry 4 as a game.
Oh, yeah, same.
Mainly because of the bad guy, because as I've described him to Matt, he's basically an insane Asian Joker.
Ichi the Killer.
It's interesting because there was a controversy about the fact that when they released the cover for Far Cry 4, it's like, oh, it's a white guy, oppressing a black guy. And I was like, well, surely that shouldn't matter because he's the bad guy. So the whole point is that it's not a positive portrayal anyway. But then the publishers annoyingly backpedaled and said, oh, it's okay, he's also foreign. And I was like, that's not how you handle this.
That's not the point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Children, here's the thing. This guy's a psychopath. He is off his rails. He could be a racist, he could be a fucking Nazi. The point is, he's the antagonist. You should despise him.
I hate when things get out of control. One fucking job, but you couldn't fucking do that! And I got blood on my fucking shoes.
So, how come it's okay for him to stab a guy in the neck multiple
in the throat
times? Yes, but if he refers to the passengers of the bus as monkeys, all of a sudden, oh, now wait a minute, there's
priorities!
Yeah.
I am terribly embarrassed about all of this. This was supposed to be very simple, but if you give food to monkeys, they just throw their shit at each other. Oh, would you hold this? For just a moment, I want to...
Because, as he orders his squad to shoot and execute you, you're obviously gonna, be more offended with his language. I mean, Jesus Christ.
That'd be hilarious if there was some social justice warrior on the bus and he's like, excuse me, you just offended that guy you stabbed in the neck.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said that. You stabbed the guy in the fucking neck. I think there's priorities here.
I don't really want to go into the whole race angle, but you clearly see that the man himself is Asian, so technically it would be the same thing as, say, if Samuel L. Jackson kept dropping the N-word every 5 seconds, so...
Yeah.
So again, that's the race thing is not the point, but it's just, it's mystifying to me that they've managed to create this honestly intriguing villain.
You and I are gonna tear shit up!
And people are giving them shit for the fact that he's too villainous.
He dropped a racial slur when he's the villain.
Yeah, for all we know, this guy could be Pol Pot Jr.
But of course,
he tortures all of these people. But you better not drop the S word or whatever.
But of course, everyone forgets that Far Cry 3's cover was Vass, who was sitting there with a white guy buried up to his nose in sand.
Well, see, according to those people, that's the way it should be.
Oh dear lord.
Take your white privilege and check it.
Yeah, apparently Ubisoft also got a lot of stuff again for Assassin's Creed, which also showed up again at this conference. People saying, why aren't there any women? Why aren't there any black people? Despite the fact that it's 18th century France. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think, they really dropped the ball with their excuse by saying that, we were considering it, but we ran out of resources or whatever, and people obviously didn't like it, but at the same time, without wishing to go into a massive female representation rant here, it's their game. They can do whatever the fuck they want with it, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. If you don't like something, then just don't buy it.
Just don't play it. It's the same thing as when people try to boycott GTA 5 because there was no, I don't want to say token, but all three protagonists were males. Never mind the fact that one of them was a stereotypical rich white guy, the other one was a redneck, and the other one was a black guy. So you've got not the entire spectrum, but it's not the same copy-pasted protagonist, so to speak. But you know what? There were no female protagonists. And it's like, now wait a second, this is GTA. All three protagonists are assholes. They're criminals, they're amoral. So why are you all of a sudden getting your panties in a twist, demanding positive female representation? Because even if there was a female GTA protagonist, chances are she would be a cunt.
Do you want some fatsa? You big streak of Yankee fish? I seen fucking unis with more balls than you.
Drop the C word.
Oh, the ad, sorry. Hashtag cancel CCS. Sorry, gents, it's been nice knowing you, but, Twitter has spoken.
The CCS podcast just disappears from the face of the planet. Yeah, EA and Ubisoft, they were... I mean, the thing about Microsoft is that they at least had a solid lineup of stuff to show. You had a lot of surprises like Scalebound, as we've already said, that more of Sunset Overdrive. With EA and Ubisoft, it was just kind of, oh, it's that, and here's like an hour of that.
Well, to be fair, I did I have no interest in the game itself, but I did like the trailer for the Division, that brilliantly titled game.
Which we thought was a game about Benjamin Franklin, judging by the vague trailer last year.
Yeah,
capitalism.
There was that confusion, but this year's trailer was much more exciting from a cinematic standpoint. The way that they fast forward through it and they showed the decay of New York City. To me, at least, it was much more interesting than the previous time they showed that game, which was during the Microsoft conference, I believe, where they tried to showcase the multiplayer capabilities of the game. And at first I couldn't tell if it was either someone on a headset talking or if that was actually the in-game dialogue.
Yeah.
This must have been the last train out. Looks like everybody panicked.
I'm pushing forward.
Ranting, wait!
I'm down!
Hold on!
Let's go, revive me, let's go!
That really got me confused.
I was like, is that the voice actors they hired? Like, she really sounds that phony. But then other people, they joined in the party, and it's like, secure the perimeter. Oh no, look, that guy has a rocket launcher. Oh no, I'm under fire. It's like, who talks like that?
I had to take out the trash because my mom was bitching.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. If this was an actual match that was going on, chances are there would have already been like 15 F-bombs dropped at this point.
Oh, they're a clean organization,
Oh yeah, with full family. Never mind that in the game you can shoot people in the face.
Never mind that Aisha and the developers are cursing like freaking sailors.
Precisely, it still has to be.
They sit all troops down in front of a copy of Frozen before they drop in. By the time they drop out of the
get them properly lobotomized.
Yeah, but like the hatch opens, they're all crying and hugging each other, and they're just like, "I love you, man."
Just let it go, brother. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Now, but speaking of Ubisoft, one of the best bits from the Sony conference was in-game footage from Far Cry 4. That was fucking hilarious.
The ultimate Bollywood movie.
Yes.
I know. I can't remember laughing so fucking hard as I did when he got into that little fucking Southeast Asian taxi and was chasing down a fucking Jeep. I was like, please God, let there be a third-person perspective. This would be fucking great.
And then, of course, you can make the elephant your bro, and you can just strap dynamite to it.
Did you see when the rocket launcher hit that fucking elephant?
I know,
and the
right?
elephant didn't die?
God. That was pretty grand. I mean, Far Cry 3 was a great game, and Far Cry 4 pretty much looks like, like a more balls-to-the-wall version of it,
There's gotta be some cheat code like God Elephant or something in there. I mean,
it's just such a shame that the Sony conference kind of... There was the Bloodborne trailer, which everybody had been waiting for because, it's basically a sequel to Dark Souls. Or
is
at
it?
least the
Awesome.
sequel. Well, yeah,
it looked like it. I wasn't sure. I didn't know what it was, though. I mean,
it's
no
made
in-game footage.
Yeah, it's made by Software, who are the same people, and it's basically Dark Souls, but set in sort of a Frankenstein's monster era. sort of like The Order.
Very Transylvanian almost.
Yeah, like The Order, except better. And not trying to be a movie. It was just, Sony went so downhill kind of after that. I mean, we'd already seen The Order, which was just... Some people were like, is the stream lagging out? And it's like, no, that's because they put it at 24 frames a second. It looks like crap. It was... It just was really dull. And they didn't show... I mean, I don't know if anyone has a massive interest in Little Big Planet 3. I know
I like the series, but I mean, it kind of looked like the same old. I mean, I'll fall into that pit trap again, but
it's not Media Molecule making this one though. It's a completely new company who are taking up the reins. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's reason for concern.
and they've just added in like Sackboy's retarded brothers who literally spend the entire time just like. Duh! Yeah, it was kind of painful to watch, and I remember.
Speaking about political correctness,
I mean, it seriously looked like he had a friend. One was a parrot, one was a dog, another one was some kid with Asperger's.
Yeah. Oh god, it's like, and they're watching. I was watching the Super Best Friends, their commentary on E3, and there was just this fantastic moment when the bearded guy is like, "Look, I know there's some of you out there who like this fucking shit, and I'm gonna find you and just who are these people?" Like. The Little Big Planet series is just so without any real substance. Is there anything that you can do? Yahtzee brought up the best point. It's like, and so did Super Best Friends. Why would I want to make my own game? I'm terrible at making games. That's why I buy other people's games that developers have worked on, because they know their shit and I don't. And the people who are typically very good at these kind of games and who can create amazing levels are the people who want to be game designers and have an interest in this. Everybody else is making levels made of penises.
Well,
there's only so many Contra worlds you can play through.
Well, I'm pretty sure there is a market for those games because I don't want to sound wishy-washy, but the reason I'm saying like, oh, there's a market for this kind of game is because during last year's coverage of E3, every 5 minutes we'd go, who would want to play this shit? So, this year.
That's true.
This year, I'm trying to be more understanding.
We never actually said that. We always said that, this looks old, this looks boring, this looks the same. Make something new was our biggest complaint.
Yeah, fair enough. So, folks, if you're into Little Big Planet or if you're into any other games that we've already trashed, then, by all means, enjoy them. And now with that out of the way, let's resume trashing Sony.
Yes, Sony made the one fatal error that Microsoft made last year. They got complacent and they started preaching to us about TV. In particular, Sony TV.
Yay.
Yeah.
With all the qualitative Adam Sandler movies, as well as the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Grown-ups too.
Sega did this way back in the 90s, and you know how Sega's console career ended up. Mm-hmm. And of course, Sony didn't do anything to team up with Square Enix to say, hey, look, here's more Final Fantasy footage. Hey, look, here's more Kingdom Hearts footage. Nope. It was just No Man's Sky, which was very good, but I've already seen, and is not a PS3 exclusive as far as I know. And, Destiny footage, which I'm not really that interested in.
Well, here's the thing. You just mentioned something that I wanted to address for a while now.
Yeah, go on.
A very large portion of this year's E3 consisted of games that we also saw at last year's E3.
Last year's E3,
yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's like, wow, this shit's not finished yet. Awesome.
Yeah, it's like me and Matt, we were discussing this. It's like, isn't E3 about announcing games that are coming out, within a span of a year or something? Like, hey, here's this, and,
Between now and the next E3, they're supposed to be coming out,
Yeah, and now it's like, hey, here's something that we're working on. It's gonna come out within the next 5 years or so. They're basically being kind of like Stalin. Here's our 5-year plan. We're gonna get this accomplished somehow.
You know all about that, Max.
He's not that old.
Well, he was shoveling coal at the age of 5,
Oh yeah, it was one of the revolutionaries that killed the Tsar. Yeah. I'm gonna be featured in the next Assassin's Creed game.
You're absolutely right. It feels like E3 is getting slower each year because they keep showing shit that we've already seen, or we've already seen in development, for about 5 years. It's very difficult to keep generating hype and interest when we just see the same stuff rolled out again and again. And in particular, Sony did not need to be 2 hours long. I think 2 hours was really pushing it.
Especially if they were going to take a break right in the middle and talk about TV.
Which was a complete mistake when the Kingpin came on and told us about the series he'd made.
Yes, because, you know, it worked so wonderful for Microsoft last year.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. And then, of course, there was that Hulk smash thing, and apparently every stream on every, website where people were watching it was just filled with Hulk smash, Hulk smash, Hulk smash.
Bigger and better than on any other platform.
So, you know, that just shows what one tiny... It wasn't even a funny gag, it wasn't even interesting, but it was something that happened that allowed people to wake up. So it was just shit. It was just so bad.
Oh well.
I didn't care for the Microsoft. The Sony conference, not one bit. I thought it was shit. What's your thought?
There wasn't even anything going on in that conference. All the best bits,
exactly.
The new MGS5 trailer, and of course the new Batman Arkham Knight trailer.
All of which they left right at the end.
Yes, when everyone was bored out of their skulls and potentially dead out of boredom in that conference room.
Here they come giving CPR. But...
it's the Scarecrow. Yay, I feel something again.
Arkham Knight, blow, blow. Arkham Knight, blow, blow.
Well, one thing that particularly irked me was that there's been a thing recently on Twitter where Sony has been asking fans to ask about their PlayStation favorites. Tell us about your favorite PlayStation memories, you know. What games did you play on the PlayStation 1 and 2? And people are obviously sending in, well, we really like Medieval, we really like... all these other games, Parappa the Rapper, Vib Ribbon, Crash Bandicoot. And Sony this year, there were 2 mentions of Vib Ribbon. One guy gets up and says, Vib Ribbon was my favourite game. We show a bit of Vib Ribbon. It's never brought up again. Another guy gets up and says, Vib Ribbon is one of my favourite games. And show a bit of Vib Ribbon. It never comes up again. So was the whole point of that entire Twitter campaign just to find one thing to yell out and like a juicy bone on the end of a stick? You know, you like this, don't you? You like this, don't you? And the other thing that irked me was that I cannot, if that is the case, I'm sorry, what universe is this where Vib Ribbon is more popular than Medieval or Parappa the Rapper or Crash Bandicoot? Or come on.
Well, you see what they're doing is, and this is going to lead into Nintendo, is they're probably trying to get name drops for the next Sony All-Stars 2 game.
Yeah, exactly. Which of course failed miserably. They had to pull in Big Daddy and they had to pull in,
other non-Sony
Raiden, I think, as well.
Dante.
It was really, really poorly done.
Well, it was a Smash Brothers knockoff. I mean, it was
just exactly. Yeah, because the truth is that you can say, I guess we can say what we want about Nintendo, and we will do. Don't worry.
Yes, we will.
But they were there first, and Smash. I was playing Smash Bros. Melee recently. I think Brawl's a piece of shit, but Melee is still an incredibly solid experience, and to try and recreate that with your own IPs is really difficult when you don't seem to have any IPs of any interest.
Yeah.
And the ones that you do use haven't been in any games, so nobody knows who the hell they are, at the moment.
Nintendo again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Nintendo. It's a shame because I think Nintendo was really sad this year, but at the same time it was kind of by default the most interesting and most entertaining conference. It's the one where I laughed the most, often out of sheer what am I even looking at?
It was a total reversal from all the rest of the conferences, especially Sony.
Exactly. It's like we were saying earlier that it was almost like Nintendo had just done a load of meth, and they were like, you know what? Do you think maybe we can get Robot Chicken in, and and I did that skit with Mega 64 one time. Maybe we could beat each other up. Yeah, it'd be hilarious, and then we'd be in the game, and let's make out. Yeah, sure.
Let me tell you something. That poor prostitute's asshole must have been numb by the end of that night.
Wasn't just Iwata partaking, huh?
No, it was Reggie. It was Miyamoto.
Reggie, get over here and take a shot of this.
Reggie's like getting his suit on and meets Iwata in the hallway, and as they turn for the conference, Reggie just goes, my ass is really sore for some reason. No, I have.
Why
to
do I smell chloroform?
I have to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't expect anything from Nintendo, and they made me laugh. I would have been very happy if the entire conference had just been creepy Toon Link trying to grab pieces of cake and...
Looks like I'm the new face of Nintendo. Hey, they promised me you wouldn't be here.
Well, here's the thing I noticed about Nintendo is I honestly didn't have any expectations. I actually went in there thinking the worst. To an extent, I kind of got the worst. To an extent, I actually got something better than I expected. I sense that there is a wind of change happening just by the fact that they are kind of talking about other IPs besides Smash Brothers.
Right.
But it's not really a wind; it's more like a breeze.
Yes.
The best example of this is like during the Robot Chicken skits, which are. I didn't find them funny, but if someone else did,
which is fine.
That's your problem.
Thanks.
B-Mask. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually directly referencing B-Mask because he actually enjoyed him. Which, if he liked him, totally cool. There's one scene where Reggie's talking, and all of a sudden, one of the guys in the audience shouts, "What about Star Fox?" And so Nintendo's acknowledging that there's people who want these fucking games, but yet there's no trailers to these games.
Yeah, this is the thing that when I was watching it with the guys, it's kind of funny because I audibly went, "Be nice if they showed some Star Fox," and then suddenly the guy goes, "Hey, where's Star Fox?" And they all kind of looked at me like, "Ha ha," and I was like, but then I said, you know, if we make satire about it, maybe the problem will go away. It was like, because that's exactly what they're kind of doing, you know.
That's what pissed me off, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like anybody can make satire about it. Like, thanks Obama, but that doesn't mean that it's not still a problem, you know.
Yeah, no shit.
It's still got to be dealt with, and here's the thing, they are dealing with it. And apparently the new Star Fox, just as an example, has been in development since the Wii. And another little bit of eye-opening trivia, everything that they're promising for the new Zelda game, they promised when they showed footage for Skyward Sword. Here's one for the fans. Remember how Moldarok was originally going to be an open-world boss that was just going to be wandering the landscape? And now that and then he wasn't, and now they're saying that's what's happening in the new Zelda game? I think what's happened is that Nintendo found a gimmick, a very successful gimmick. They had all these games and ideas in development after the GameCube. They never quite got to realize them in the way they wanted because everything was geared towards the gimmicks. If you play Skyward Sword, that is a game that fails because it's so reliant on the 98% chance of the gimmick working. And all of the things that they promised don't happen. You know, people have called it the most superficial Zelda game. Pikmin 3 has been in development since the Wii and has only just turned up on the Wii U. Mario Kart 8, which I played, is probably one of the best Mario Kart games, but Mario Kart Wii was a piece of shit. What I feel has happened is that they've only just kind of got to do all the shit they want to do because they can't predict the market. They royally kind of screwed themselves over. So there's still an issue. And in a way, one of the good things they did this year was they did show a lot of new games, but this is where I kind of have to bring up a point that I've been waiting to bring up for a while now.
Ever since the Wii U podcast between me, Max, and Mel.
Yeah, and it's kind of, but the thing is that it's kind of an addition to your guys' points. So, you know, they announced all of these extra games that they have. They're doing a Toad game, which looks fun. They're doing another Donkey Kong. No, they're not doing another. Erase that. They're doing yeah, exactly.
Yoshi.
That's wrong. They're doing a Yoshi game. They're doing a Toad game. They're doing a Kirby game. They're doing Splatoon. All these bouncy, colourful, you know, kind of things. Actually, erase Splatoon. They're doing Kirby. They're doing Yoshi. They're doing fuck. They're doing Kirby. They're doing Yoshi. They're doing Toad. They're doing another Mario. Fuck. Let me try. Oh, I'm so sorry about this. I know what
seriously.
I'm trying to say.
This illustrates the fucking point to a T. They're doing Mario. Oh wait, no, they're not. Fuck. Oh, they're doing this. Oh wait, no, they're not. Fuck.
I mean, this is the thing. We can kind of leave that in because last year they did 2 Marios. They did a Donkey Kong. Now this year that they did a Yoshi, they did a Toad. They did a Kirby. So I finally got it. But the problem was that then they say, oh, and here's Zelda. And that's when I kind of stumbled upon my issue. I actually don't have a problem with Mario. Mario is a really solid platform and it's really fun. And for some reason, I've suddenly stopped enjoying that. Why is that? These are good games. Why am I not enjoying these games? Because Nintendo has all of these characters for a reason. The reason that we have this varied roster of iconic figures is because they all represent a different type of gameplay. Samus was sort of a explorative first-person shooter. Zelda was a swords and sorcery RPG style game. Mario was a platformer. what else did we have? We had, you know,
Kirby platformer.
Yeah, it's like Kirby was more about gimmicks.
Star Fox is a third-person flight simulator.
Star Fox was a flight simulator. Kid Icarus was also the same kind of thing, but it tried a few different swords and sorcery tactics.
Pikmin was an entirely different thing.
Yeah, Pikmin was an RTS.
Punch-Out was boxing.
Punch-Out was boxing. And each year, for each different console, they introduced a new IP that built upon these ideas, that found new ways to explore gameplay with these different franchises. And now what we're finding is that all of the franchises they're releasing, and they are making a lot of games, have the same platforming feel. They're saturating their own market. And as a result, it's really difficult to enjoy these games. Matthew Matosis said this about the Stanley Parable. One of the issues with that game is that all the jokes kind of come together and you can see it happening. It's like someone sits down to you, and it's an effect where instead of saying I'm going to tell you a knock knock joke, it's I'm going to tell you 50 knock knock jokes and you're going to listen. And after a while, it's a diminishing return because they don't have any effect on you anymore because they're in such close proximity to each other. I'm not affected by Mario platformers anymore. I'm not affected by any of Nintendo's cutesy bouncy platformers because I've had so many of them in one go. You can't just say, oh, but we also have... it's like you can't just say, oh, but we also have Zelda, because that's all you've been showing. What about Metroid? What about Star Fox? What about, you know, these are legitimate ways of expanding their portfolio. And forgetting all of that, what about something new? Splatoon. No, sorry, that's a Nickelodeon game. Something new, please. And one last thing I just want to say about Splatoon so that I can shut up forever. The one thing about Splatoon that really irritates me is that everybody goes the hell on about it. Nobody would even know about Splatoon if it hadn't been announced as a big thing at a Nintendo conference. And I guarantee that when that game comes out, it's going to be just the same as any other kiddie shooter that THQ or whatever would have come up with. You know.
Ready? Done? Good.
Yeah, sorry. I had to kind of get that out of my system.
No, it's fine. But you touch up on exactly what the problem is, because we always complain, oh, they're making a new Mario game, and when they don't make a Mario game, we're like, hey, where's Mario? Okay, so here's the reason why we do that, and not for Star Fox. It's just the oversaturation. I mean, we've seen so many fucking Mario games. It's been done 100,000 fucking times, whereas Star Fox has 4 games, 5 maybe at the most. Yeah, and it's that kind of fucking factory, cranking out the same fucking game over and over and over again. That's just totally made us all, like you said, immune to it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really alarming that there's barely any difference between the franchises, because for me, at least, the new Yoshi game and the new Kirby thing looked exactly the same.
Yeah, they're basically the same principle as the Mario game. They're not particularly difficult, just the visuals are slightly tweaked, but it's still the same principle. And it's a shame because when the GameCube first came out, what was really nice about Luigi's Mansion was it was like, hey, how about we do something different with a Mario character? Yeah. Instead of being a platformer, why don't we have it be a little cute kind of explorative strategy game, and I kind of like that the 3DS actually has those qualities. The new Kirby game looks nuts on the 3DS, and that's because of the the way that they're kind of upping the draw style gimmick, and the fact that Kirby now appears to be able to swallow everything. Even Wispy Woods is looking worried. I don't see how they can achieve that in the same way on the Wii U. It feels like they've already done it. I don't see why we need to do it again.
Well, they don't even try, because, like I said, their go-to genre these days is basically a 2.5D platform.
Yes.
And that's it. And even the new Toad game, it kind of looks fun, but at the same time, it's
same kind of aesthetics.
It seems to be made on the same engine as the Super Mario 3D World whatever on the Wii U. So it's like they just took one character from the roster and made a game about him. It's the same villains as the usual Mario game.
Yeah, it's a real shame because Smash Bros looks decent, and I played the latest Mario Kart game. I really like it. It's one of my favorites since Double Dash, but I feel like I've been battered by all of these Mario products, and I kind of was hoping there'd be at least something different, and Donkey Kong didn't quite hit the spot, because even though that was a decent game, made by Retro Studios, it's the same thing. It's another platformer in an age where we are so saturated with platformers right now.
Yeah.
And so saturated with side-scrolling platformers, I might add.
Right.
Well, one thing I just realized is that we keep saying that the Nintendo conference was potentially the most fun of the bunch, which could be true, but
to start with.
Yeah, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that Nintendo only actually showcased about 5 or 6 games at best.
Yes.
That's like really it. And
all the other stuff they showed was after.
Yeah, and a good portion of
After.
them was games that we already knew about, like, you know, obviously Super Smash Brothers. And even then, of course, there was the new Zelda game, but it was a pre-rendered demo. It wasn't even a demo,
Yes.
it was just a cinematic. So basically, we haven't moved even an inch since that demo at E3 2011, I think, like with the giant spider and everything. Yeah, we haven't moved an inch. We haven't seen a single second of gameplay, and yet that hasn't stopped websites like Kotaku already posting articles saying that the new Zelda game is going to be open world and it looks amazing. It's like, we haven't seen a single second of gameplay and you're already shitting your socks from excitement?
Is Kotaku getting access to like behind the curtain?
Yeah.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
No, definitely not. No, I mean, on the one hand, I think it is actually something that got me excited. I mean, I love the idea of being able to say, see that mountain? See that? Go there.
climb
You
it.
can do it.
Yeah.
But the problem is that I was burned by Skyward Sword. You know, it's very difficult to come back from that, which had a lot of the same promises.
It's easy to promise, but
yes,
it's hard,
exactly.
it's hard to
Harder
deliver.
to deliver.
Also, before I forget, that fucking Mario Maker thing, Jesus.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
After saying there will be no Mario games at this conference. By the way, here's a Mario game.
Yeah, if you thought that NES Remix game was bad, this is just wow.
It's a
I,
big
I,
part
I
of
don't know if
Mario.
it's gonna be a full. I don't know if it's gonna be a full retail release. Chances are it's gonna be a downloadable thing. But here's the thing. Here's the reason why I think that's lazy. Like, you could say all you want.
We don't even have time to make a Mario game now. Here, you do it.
Precisely. You know what would be a good analogy? If, say, instead of making a new CCS podcast ourselves, we would just give our fans the avatars and maybe a couple of sound clips of us, of, say,
so
Laughing
true.
Man laughing, or me dropping the F-bomb, and it's like, here, make your own CCS video podcast. We couldn't be arsed.
Just me going, cool, blimey, governor.
Yeah, precisely. And you know, try to masquerade it all by saying like, oh, we're giving our fans a chance to be creative. No, we're just being lazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's also redundant because people have been doing this on YouTube for years. You know, people have been making hacks.
There have been
people
mods for years.
Yeah, there was that gag for years that was the people were making Mario levels that played themselves, and then they made it so that not only did they play themselves, but they made a Mario. They made music as you went through the level. It's already been done like a million times. This is just an official way of doing it, and it doesn't really add anything.
Yeah.
And again, it's a case of, if you're interested in game development, then yeah, you're going to pick that up. If you're someone who's kind of sort of interested in the concept, you probably drop it after about 5 minutes of play, you know?
Right. But now I think would be a good time to address the real issue with the Nintendo conference.
Oh, yeah, so what Nintendo did was that Nintendo showed their sort of online conference in the digital live stream, and then they announced that there would be a Nintendo Treehouse where basically you hang out with Shigsy and his translator, who are an adorable couple, by the way, and they show off some of the games they've been working on. And as far as I can tell, these games were purely tech demos. One was about getting inside of a giant robot and punching another giant robot and being able to look at it from a first-person perspective, which I might add has actually already been done in a game called iNinja.
Yes.
And you know, it's not completely new. And the other one was kind of an interesting one where you control several security cameras and you stop Rob the Robot from breaking into your base, which had actually been done in Sly Cooper 3. And
sounds also like Night Trap.
Yeah. Oh, and another fun thing, people saying, "Oh, it's great that Mario Kart 8 is allowing people to go up on, you know, walls and ceilings and stuff. That's never been done in a kart race before, so you know, not like in Crash Nitro Kart." But anyway,
is there anything new? Is there anything new at all?
We totally haven't even touched upon the Skylanders stuff that they've taken up, which is even more evidence that they're having. This is the first time Nintendo's outright copied a competitor that everybody can agree with, in order to keep the business going. But anyway, and then at the very end of the conference, somebody puts their hand up and says, "Mr. Miyamoto, is there going to be a new Star Fox?" And he kind of looks at his translator and he looks back and he goes, "Yeah, we've been working on it since the Wii. You know, there's a new Star Fox."
Oh, nice of you to mention that.
Yeah. And he had, what was really sad was he looked so shocked by the question that what you people want a Star Fox game?
Yes, fucking
Why would you want
yes.
that?
Even fucking Robot Chicken made that goddamn joke.
Yeah,
You've
exactly.
acknowledged it. At least Reggie has. Reggie and Miyamoto never talk. Come on.
Yeah, I think it's really sad because, you know, I love me some Nintendo, and, you know, I've been going through the GameCube games recently, having a heck of a time, but they dropped the ball with the Wii, with a lot of the games they had going out for it, and they just need to pick it back up again, and I fear it may be too late in a lot of ways. You know, and this is just a sign of that. The fact that they've been working on this since the Wii, the fact that Skyward Sword was going to be something else. It's just all, you know, the cracks are appearing in the mask.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't harbor. I know we don't harbor any ill feelings towards Nintendo. In fact, we do have a bit.
Well,
of
fuck,
fondness.
you grew up with it. You were there.
Yeah, that was my first console. I think Contra. It was my very first game, and that was back in like '89, '90. Yeah, I mean, it does hold a special place with a lot of people, and myself included. But when you
that's kind of the problem. You need to let go of what you love.
Right. It's like having almost like a kid who grows up to become, you know, a drug-addled, you know, meth addict or something. You try to do as much as you can, but you really can't do anything about it, and all you can do is just shake your head and just, you know, mourn for your loss.
Yeah, take him out back. Take out the shotgun.
Blam.
This is for your own good, son. Max, you got to differentiate between family and pets.
There's a difference.
Like an old Yeller, the dog takes the boy out and shoots him.
you see that Duck Hunt dog?
Oh man.
Oh boy. Snoopy shoots Charlie Brown.
in the Red Baron plane. I almost feel like the Nintendo E3 podcast could be its own thing. You know, there's just so much to cover with those guys.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I like I said, I really do love me some Nintendo, but something has happened. They've dropped it somewhere, and you know, the fact they're not making any proper new IPs, the Splatoon is like just the bare minimum.
Yeah.
They really need to get back into the game.
So the thing about the Splatoon, though, it seems like the problem I have with that game is that it seems like that game exists solely because the developers wanted it to exist. And I know that kind of seems like an oxymoron because, like, yeah, well, that's how games are made, idiot. Yeah, I know that, but the way that but just the video they showed where, you know, the developers go into an aquarium and it's like, hey, you know, we really like the sea life and we wanted to make this game, and, you know, hey, my colleague, we played this game all the time, etc., etc. And I'm pretty sure there are people who are interested in this concept. And again, if you want to play it, by all means, God bless, go forward.
This is coming from an atheist.
Oh yeah. To me, that's sacrilege. I know. But I don't know. It's just, you could say that it's kind of cutesy.
Yeah, but so is everything Nintendo does.
Like, you could say that it's cutesy that they're showing that, you know, hey, you know, our developers have fun with their games, and here's how they make it, and then this is how our company operates. But at the same time, I don't know. A lot of the videos had that same vibe where the people who made Kirby talked about Kirby a lot, about how, hey, we got this idea here, and this is something we wanted to implement for a very long time. We have a kink for yarn, apparently. We wrap ourselves in yarn and suck each other's dicks, apparently.
Oh yeah, all those shots on the shelves of just the yarn. You know?
Yeah, they were money shots, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's kind of great, but... and they are working on the game, of course, but at the end they still give you that ambivalent 2015 date, which doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, guys, I'm really glad that you have fun making this, but again, to draw an analogy between Nintendo and ourselves, it'd be kind of if we kept talking about how much fun we have making the CCS Video Podcast, but we didn't release any new episodes. And so, you know, if you're gonna go ahead and trash us, by all means, but just know that, you know, we are holding ourselves to as much scrutiny as we would Nintendo.
Actually, I just as a quick thing, you know, when they were talking about Smash Bros, I mean, I'm legit kind of interested in the new Smash Bros because from what I can tell, it seems to handle slightly better than Brawl, which was really pants. And it's got some of the characters I'd rather play as. But it was weird. They announced whatever her name is, Palutena or whatever, as the new character.
Whatever goddess. Yeah.
whatever goddess from Kid Icarus, who's not even a major character. Maybe it's to put more females on the roster. They put that in their reel, and it's like, oh look, here's a new challenger, Palutena, and I'm like, great. And then after the conference, guess what? Pac-Man's announced. They're like, wait a minute, why wasn't he at the end of the trailer?
Yes.
Well, surely getting Pac-Man is a bigger boon than Palutena.
Well, I was wondering what the fuck the anime chick was. I'm like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, she's Kid Icarus, but for some reason they
well,
decided.
I kind of figured
animate
just
her.
by the banter, but I thought like it was like some Japanese anime princess shit, and I'm like, why is Sailor Moon in this fucking game?
Yeah, there's some really weird choices in the new Smash Bros. I mean, Greninja and what's that other one? Rosalina. And, apparently.
Well, no, Rosalina at least made an appearance in an actual Mario game, the Super
Yeah,
Mario
I guess.
Galaxy. I mean, what about the Wii trainer?
Oh god, the
Yeah,
Wii Fit trainer.
Yoga your way to battle.
Of which I'm glad to announce there has already been entire reams of Rule 34 porn drawn. So
Great, why
Yeah.
not? Just keep it up, internet. Just
well, I suspect that's the reason why she was included.
Well, that's why Zero Suit
yeah,
Samus
it would
was.
make sense.
Yeah, but at least she has her entire body covered up. The Wii Fit trainer is basically a tank top, yoga pants, and she's barefoot. So
But of course,
Misogyny rising.
I was just gonna say it's difficult for me to complain because, as we said, they haven't created any proper new IPs. So.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna scrape the bottom of the barrel, you're gonna find the Wii Fit trainer there.
God, I just wish for the day that Steam would just be at the end of the trailer, or at the end of the entire E3 conference, and just Gabe Newell will come up and say, yeah, about 85% of everything you've seen up here during the last 2 days, we got it.
See, I still love that gag that people were talking about on 4chan when they said, Gabe turns up on stage and he says, I've got a big announcement for you all, and like a 3 appears behind his head, and, the crowd hushes, and then suddenly a big E turns up next to it, and he goes, have a great E3. And he
Genius.
Oh, Gabe.
Yeah, picks up his paycheck on the way out.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's one of my biggest complaints about E3, though. Nintendo has a lot of IPs that you'll never see on Steam and stuff, but the rest of the conference, I mean, Ubisoft, E3 or EA, even Microsoft stuff and Sony stuff, about 85% of everything that was shown is going to be on Steam. So you think that Steam would be there and say, you know what, we got just about everything, and then we also have this entire huge, greenlight community where we do indie games, and there's, literally like 15,000 games you can choose from, new and old.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just a 15-minute long conference would wow everybody else. we've got everything. Deal with it. Adam Morthus there. Deal with it.
Oh, but that's the thing, isn't it? If they were to do that, there would be no point in E3.
I know, which is an even better reason to do it.
Yeah. But to wrap this up, overall thoughts on this year's E3?
B-Mask can go first.
Yeah, boring.
Okay.
That's it.
Who's next?
I'll go next. A couple of things I liked. A couple of games I really want to play. Don't know if I have time to play them anymore. And the rest of it I just really couldn't give a shit about because it's just a big Vanity Fair like usual. And it's a repetition of the previous year. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as myself goes, let me just say that the only reason I watched the conferences this year is just so that I could take the piss out of them with you guys. So that's how much I'm interested in.
Plus those YouTube monies.
Yeah, exactly. We're all doing it for you guys, but mostly for ourselves.
Yeah, we're totally like Microsoft.
Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. I mean, E3 is just one of those things that normally we watch it because it's just super entertaining, but sadly this year it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Didn't live up to the craziness of previous years, No sticks, no fingers, no Usher. Oh, man.
They took themselves too seriously.
Yeah, all the shit that we bitched about last year, they didn't have.
Yeah, that's the worst
Why
thing.
are there cars on stage? Who the hell is this guy singing and playing a guitar? Fuck all these guys. This year, all of a sudden we're like, it was boring.
Yeah. It's a shame that the more straight-laced E3 gets, the more boring it gets,
Yeah.
Such a shame.
Yeah, so the moral of the story, kids, is be careful what you wish for.
You might just get it in the butt. Yeah. Fuck that. Fucking.